India now speaking on what the damage they've done on Pakistan. Finally, we're looking at 5 months after a near war-like situation. 5 months after India and Pakistan almost went to war, the IAF chief has now made some major revelations. On the 93rd Air Force Celebration Day today, he confirmed that during Operation Sindoor, India struck down nearly 10 Pakistani fighter jets, including F-16s and JF-17s. The operation, carried out in May, also destroyed a Pakistani AWACS surveillance aircraft, he says. Also with it, C-130 transport plane was gunned down. Radars, command centers, hangars, runways, even surface-to-air missile system was destroyed, crippling Pakistan's air power. This is the IAF chief's big revelation. The air chief called Pakistan's claims of downing Indian jets as nothing but manohar kahaniyan, fanciful stories, basically fictitious theories that Pakistan is coming up with on Pakistan gunning down Indian jets. Completely false. This is what the IAF chief has said in big revelation, and also saying instead India gunned down 10 of their fighter jets. He's revealed that IAF even executed a long-range strike over 300 kilometers, proving India's deep strike capability. Also unveiled while in that press conference, IAF chief has unveiled a roadmap to 2047 on how India plans to strengthen and modernize its air force, air capabilities. Backing the message also was Army Chief Upendra Dwivedi, who warned that India will not hold back if Pakistan continues to export terror across the border. In fact, the Army Chief has hinted another Sindoor-style operation could follow if at all India is provoked yet again. The IAF chief concluded today by saying that Pakistan was so threatened, the terror groups particularly were so threatened, that many of them have actually moved their hideouts deep inside Pakistan. They've shifted bases into various parts of Pakistan deep inside, away from the border area, so that they could thrive. And they now have smaller setups instead of big setups because they're scared of India and its capability. Wherever they are, India has the capability to hit and strike with precision. Words of the IAF chief. Very strong words and big revelations coming to fore there. Let me bring in our panelists. Air Commander Dr. Ashminder Singh Bahal, who's a defense and strategy expert. Thank you very much, sir. We also have Major General Sudhakar ji, also a defense and strategic expert. Thanks, both of you, for joining us. Let me start with Air Commander Ashminder Singh. Your take on IAF Chief's big revelations. It's come a little too late, do you think? Did it have to be said on the 93rd Air Force Day celebrations? Could we not have had, we were waiting to hear something like this much earlier. Of course, they may have had their own compulsions, but big revelations by the IAF chief that 10 fighter jets of Pakistan were gunned down. If we had this information earlier, it would have given us some kind of solace.
Nabila, first of all, thank you for calling me to your show, which is seen so well by everybody. And secondly, and very importantly, now the IAF chief is known to be a frank and forthright officer. It's such a refreshing change when most of the senior military leaders today are more political than military. And when we look at him with awe, that he says it with courage, and he says it with conviction, and he says it in such language that is easily understood without using any colloquial forms like, we will make them really worried and all that, or maybe even stronger language than that. He never uses that. Now, most importantly, he did come up in the first week of August when he laid out the longest kill by S-400 at 300 kilometers range, which is one of the longest surface-to-air range kill ever in the history of AWC aircraft or a Sigint aircraft which was shot down. Now, he did mention at that time that 5 aircraft fighters plus 1 AWC, that is Airborne Early Warning and Control, which is basically a radar which is mounted on an aircraft and which looks deep inside the enemy territory and gives you a command and control facility. So he had mentioned at that time also, but more importantly, today he came out and said that JF-17s and F-16s in the air were shot down. And secondly, he also mentioned that 4 to 5 F-16s were shot on ground when the hangar was attacked. He didn't mention the place, but I might as well tell you the place, Jacobabad. So in that Jacobabad hangar, they were destroyed with the precision weapons that the IAF had used. The other thing he mentioned was about the Bholari, where we had, again, Bholari Air Base hangar, where we had destroyed the AWC and eventually actually also killed six of Pakistan Air Force officers. I am actually, we did not intend to kill their officers. We were only looking at the aircraft. Now, even the aircraft that were getting serviced, the F-16s in the Jacobabad hangar, were destroyed by a precision strike. But most importantly, it is not the numbers like he was saying. And when somebody asked him, why didn't you counter and how many of your aircraft went? He says, if the Pakistanis believe that there are
Yeah,
15
those are
aircraft,
the
let them
manohar
believe.
kahaniyan. That's what he says.
Manohar
But but
kahaniyan.
but I'd like to ask you, how significant is it when India says they've struck down 8 to 10 Pakistani fighter jets, and that includes F-16s? That could be big loss to Pakistan's military power.
Absolutely. Actually, ma'am, I would not like to correct you, but I would like to give you my own input. If we calculate 5 fighters in the air and 5 fighters on ground, that makes it 10 fighters, like you rightly mentioned. And in addition to that, there were two AEWC, Airborne Early Warning and Control System aircraft, that is radar aircraft with radars on top of them. And also there's one C-130, which if you take the total, it works out to 13 aircraft. 13 aircraft being lost by Pakistan. Each AWC aircraft cost $93 million. But most important thing that he said was about what Clausewitz had said, Karl von Clausewitz had said many years back when Napoleonic wars were taking place. He was a Prussian general as well as a military theorist who said political object is the goal and war is only a means of achieving it. And war is nothing but politics, extension of politics by other means. So when we look at it, what he said, I got clear directions. In addition to that, there was a clear mandate. And we also looked at conflict termination objectives. How many great military leaders have you ever seen speaking about conflict termination objectives? A clear grasp that he has of how the warfare should be conducted and how it should be stopped. Because when you have achieved your goals, political objects and goals, you should stop it. Otherwise, it can spiral into a no-end war as it is taking place in Israel, Hamas, or it is taking place in Russia, Ukraine. Just to give you a perspective of this, uh, Gaza is just 363 square kilometers, which means it is one-fourth the size of Delhi. And 2 years later, they are nowhere to completing the war. There were about 25 to 30,000 Hamas fighters. Today also there are around 25,000 Hamas fighters. They may have killed some, but still large numbers exist and more have started joining them. So at the end of it, their war is continuing despite 90% destruction being carried out and 70,000 civilians being killed, which is close to two-thirds were women and children, and 80 to 90% of the
That is
infrastructure
a
of
whole
Gaza has been
different,
destroyed.
the motive is very different.
Absolutely.
India's motive is to weed out terror hideouts. I'm not too
Exactly.
sure what the motive of Israel is to do with Gaza. So that's a whole
Yes.
different story. But
No. The point that I'm trying to make is we knew when to stop the conflict. And that
correct.
conflict termination was what he highlighted right in the beginning when he
Absolutely.
started talking.
And like you rightly said, our motive was to ensure we put Pakistan in their place, not to wipe out the population. But with
Exactly.
Israel and Gaza, there's a whole different story there. Maybe we could compare this better with Russia-Ukraine. We're looking at the war that continues 2 years on, and it seems like both sides are at it. Despite global intervention, Russia seems adamant, and so is Ukraine. That's a classic example to give where economies have been ruined. Both countries are really struggling. Their people are not back on their feet. And that's not what we want here in India. But India was strong enough to put Pakistan in their place And the big revelations that's come in from the Air Chief today really convinces us the capability and the strength that our Indian Army has, which is why it makes us so proud. And I wish we had this information a little earlier. That's what people are asking. Why so late? Why 5 months later do we know now that India struck down 10 or 11 of Pakistani fighter jets? Now, can we do something about this information on the global stage? Is there anything that we can do, Major General, on your, if you could come in on this? Major General Sudhakar, what can India do with this kind of information on the international stage? There's been enough talk. Pakistan has managed to get allies on board to believe that they struck down multiple of our fighter jets. But here we have a whole new piece of information coming in today. Is there anything we can do to expose Pakistan globally?
Kabila, good evening. Thank you for getting me for your show. My compliments to very distinguished co-panelist Air Commodore. And in your question lies a very important and significant point. I tend to agree with you. The unsaid portion of your question is that there was something which we have left out. And as a retired general of the Indian Army, I won't hesitate to call it out. Like in Operation Vijay during Kargil War, we had a system of one officer from Military Operation Directorate. Every day evening, he used to carry out the operational briefing to the media. Something like that should have been done. Otherwise, during the Operation Sindoor, I would say, for lack of correct expression, I was outside the country doing good for the nation building. I came across a Russian officer at one of the very notable establishment, and I spoke to him. I said, since BrahMos have gone a long way and we are going in for a collaborative effort in developing hypersonic missile, why don't we collaborate in the information warfare? You know what reply he gave? The reply which he gave, that the Russian soldier doesn't do information war. He fights the war himself. So I was actually very inspired by the statement. And I would say, while on one hand, today is in the 21st century, there is a requirement of disseminating the information on ground on regular, predictable basis to the media. And the information war has got a cutting edge. It has got a cutting edge advantage by the adversary. If you don't win a physical war, information war can actually give very distinctive advantage as it gave to Pakistan in the initial part. But fact of the matter is, the philosophy that Indian Armed Forces is believing is we have gravitated away from the strategic restraint. Way back in 2008, if you recall, after the Taj Hotel was hit, our Indian Air Force chief had offered that give him a chance. He would like to knock off all the terrorist camps. But for some reason at national level, we are discouraged. So that will not contest. But what I'm trying to say, from strategic restraint in 2008, we have gravitated towards a paradigm of I would say, reciprocal risk. This reciprocal risk means the courage to take, the capability to take a reciprocal risk at the cost of danger or at the cost of loss of your assets and loss to the lives of the soldiers. So that has come about. This you can actually adopt only if you have domination on the escalatory matrix. That means what the Air Commodore was saying, entry into the battle and exit from battle should be so designed, should be so calibrated that it should be in our pocket, in our hand. That is what the Indian Army has achieved. While other countries are fighting a very extended warfare, our country decided to go in at a particular moment. It decided a cutting edge decision. That is what it's called as exit from the battle is very, very important in any kind of warfare. But having said that, we must also highlight, Kavila, you will bear me out.
Nabila, sir, I think you've got my name wrong. Nabila.
Nabila, okay, I stand corrected. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Oh, somebody has given me Kavila. I stand corrected. Okay.
I have many iterations of my name, so it's fine. You're
Anyway,
excused.
I'm sorry for that.
No worries, sir.
So, Nabila, I hope I'm spelling your name right.
Yes, you are.
Yes. So what I'm trying to say is that there is also a departure from the strategy of deterrent of denial. Earlier, we used to do a thing, but we retain the deniability. नहीं, Hindustan ने नहीं किया है. That things like, unknown gun army, which is going away, killing that gangster and all. We don't know who's killing, who this unknown gunman, or some kind of
Who is
operation.
it? Who is it?
That
Would
I
you know,
don't know.
sir?
I don't know. But people ask me, who's this man? I said, whoever it may be, he's doing a good thing for the national interest of India. And I think he should go on. But the fact that I'm trying to highlight is,
So the question is he backed by India?
not at all. India does not have a doctrine or a philosophy of this kind. We don't believe in covert operation or
But we're
deniability.
speaking of new India now.
Oh, obviously, time has come. We need to actually, that is what I'm saying. Now we have come, migrated from the doctrine of the deterrence of deniability to deterrence of punishment. Before we carried out Operation Sindoor, we called up Pakistan, we told them, we are hitting your targets. These targets are nothing but the logistic and the training bases and the camps of the terrorists. Now, India has come a long way. Just to answer your cue or the question which you are raising, it is the 78th year of our independence. Now, a stage of confidence and courage has actually come about, wherein India can step forward and tell the country, you please mind your language, mind yourself, mend your ways, otherwise we are coming and hitting at so place. We'll have no collateral damage, will not carry out any kind of damage or punishment to the civilians, will hit the military target. The military target in this case were the terrorist camps. They have been hit, after which Pakistan was told, we are done with. Now it is entirely after you. The Pakistan decided to come back. It was a retribution from their side. They said, no, we'll not take it lying like this. So they came back, and we told them also, if you come back with a conventional retort, well, we'll be left with no option, but we'll hit you back. And saying the last part in one line, the losses which the Air Commodore has actually elucidated or eluded. I have done research as a student of geopolitics, geostrategy, and security. I have reasons to believe. I must compliment our Indian Air Force chief, the way he has responded to the questions. I must compliment him to guardingly let out this information, because until you have evidence, it is very difficult to, address our own
But sir, my only question is, if we had this kind of evidence, then why aren't we making our case strong internationally? You have Pakistan going to town saying that, and look what they did with the Asia Cup match. You had their players showing signs of 6-0, that they've gunned down Indian aircrafts and whatnot. So this kind of information that came in from the IAF chief today would have been very helpful had it come a little earlier. India would have felt a lot more sure and confident. Not that we doubt our armed forces, but this is precise information, and it's very important for Indian citizens to know about. At least it's come better late than never. We now know at least. But Air Commodore, if you can give me a sense on how India can strengthen its case internationally with this piece of information given today by IAF chief.
Nabila, this is not the first time that he's come out with this information. He came out with this information the first week of August also. And that time also we had asked him, why so late? You could have told it right in the beginning. But then he did mention that we wanted to be 100% sure. We got our evidences and we compared them, and we came to this realization that this is the actual figure. My own anticipation was anywhere from 12 to 14 aircraft, and he's given us the exact at 13. I'm
to 14 aircraft, you're saying those including that were stationed, those that were flying, all collectively?
Collectively. That is both the aircraft that were shot down in the air and the aircraft that were shot down on ground. Now, what I want to tell you is that the narrative building is the true capabilities of the Pakistanis. Means after losing the war, they were able to build the narrative in such a fashion that he promoted himself, Munir promoted himself as a field marshal, and they tried to project it. But if you look at all the great aerospace strategists and defense analysts, you will find most of them had clearly said that India had won the war. The losses on Pakistani sides were more. And they had also said there is no way that 6 Rafales were lost. Maybe one odd aircraft could have been lost, but there were no way that 6 aircraft were lost. So this all had come out. Tom Cooper, if you remember, or if you remember the other Austrian gentleman who came and explained it minutely. In fact, these gentlemen went into such great details of talking of what are the systems used, how the decoys were used, what was the type of electronic warfare carried out, and how Pakistan was building its case with the help of AWACS fighter integration. So all that they had explained at that time. I actually personally believe once you have beaten somebody, yes, winning the narrative war is also important. And the narrative war starts right at the beginning itself, which the general was also mentioning. Though we did have those briefings where every day we had an army, a lady officer, and a
No,
gentleman.
yes, we did. Yes, we did. But these numbers
Yeah,
are precise and it's fresh. But nonetheless, it's come out at least finally. Major General, yeah, you give me your response, but also give us a sense of what we saw today with the IAF chief unveiling India's roadmap to 2047 on how our military power is going to be modernized, our capabilities, and India's priorities, if you
Okay.
watched.
Yeah, fine. I thought that would have been more appropriate for the Air Commodore. He's a qualified
Yeah,
absolutely.
gentleman.
either one of you. Yeah, go answer. But Major General, give me your
Yeah,
response first.
I want to answer this primarily because this deals with my bread and butter, and I think the anchor must know whom to ask what question.
Oh no,
So
No,
I
see, no.
apologize for the error. My
yeah,
apologies for the error. But
okay. So
let Major General
let
finish
me
his comment, and then I'll come to
yeah.
you. Major
Okay,
General.
okay. Let me just firstly, I want to reinforce the data which has been given by the Indian Air Force Chief today with a lot of conservative insulation. When I say conservative insulation means, what I mean to say is that he is in uniform, he is Chief of the Air Staff. Obviously, more than the outside media and the people in the world, it is your own countrymen who look at you, who look at the started looking at armed forces with questions in their mind and eyes. It is to respond to them with authenticity and evidence that we are taking time. This is what, in nutshell, the Air Commodore has given out. But let me share with you, Nabila. I hope I got you getting your name right. You
Uh,
see, the fact of the matter is that, do you know what does a hangar contain? A hangar. What is a hangar? I am a non-Air Force guy. What I have understood, a hangar is supposed to have aircraft for maintenance. In fact, the aircrafts which are fit for the war, they are also stored inside the hangar. There are spare parts in the hangar. There are maintenance section in the hangar itself. The hangars are of different size. This I'm a layman, as I have understood. The largest hangar in the world can accommodate something close to 4,000 aircrafts. Taiwan has got one of the largest hangars. It can accommodate 300 aircrafts. Hangars are from 20 meters to 80 meters to 300 meters. The hangars which have been destroyed by the Indian Air Force, which are part of the Pakistani Air Force, to my understanding and the data which I have got from different multiple sources, they are indicative of each hangar had 20 aircrafts. So how many does it account for? 60. Very alarming figure, isn't it?
yeah.
Even I'm also looking at it with skepticism. There is a friend from one of my friends from a very strategic neighborhood who has shared the information that Pakistan has lost 70 aircrafts. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. But my
17 or
calculation,
70?
7-0.
My
My
God.
calculation, as against the Air Commodore and the Chief of the Air Staff, who has disclosed the figures today, my calculation is coming to 22 aircrafts I can account for. But unfortunately, I don't have the evidence. 22 to 24 aircrafts. So issue is not about the aircraft. Issue is a couple of points that I wish to highlight. Number one, intelligence. We are ignoring a very important aspect of a very accurate, precise intelligence. Who are the people who give you this intelligence? Has USA supported us, or it is our RAW who has given? Whoever has found out the accurate intelligence, they need to be highlighted, they need to be given recognition at the appropriate level, maybe in a classified manner. Number two, the mechanism, delivery mechanism. Number three, the projectiles, the initial lock-in mechanism, the mid-course correction, the terminal guidance system. Does our satellite have the system of what do you call that, kill chain capability? I don't know, but the way you have penetrated 300 kilometers into the enemy territory, knocked down one
Yeah,
aerial
fantastic
platform, that speaks.
for India, who has not run into a warlike situation for a while now. This was great planning and strategy, and they whipped it up in barely a few days post Pahalgam. And salute to the army, the armed forces. A final word on our roadmap, Commodore.
Roadmap, I hand over the
Your
floor to
final
Air
word
Commodore. Yeah.
on
Yeah, can I?
2047. What are we going to
Yeah.
be staring at?
The first thing that I want to say is that the hangars that were that were destroyed, did not have that ability to put so many aircraft as the general is estimating. Most of the aircraft that were operational were already in their blast fence or hardened aircraft shelters. So the aircraft that were under repair or maintenance were only in these hangars, and these numbers were not that many because of the dispersal of aircraft that had taken place. Now I come to the roadmap. The roadmap for 2047 that is being given. Right now, the current situation is this, that we have 29 squadrons after two squadrons of MiG-21 have been number plated. And we are going to lose out another 12 squadrons, that is three MiG-29 squadrons, three Mirage 2000 squadrons, six Jaguar squadrons. That makes it a total of 12. You remember three Jaguar accidents had taken place earlier in India in this year. And when we take this 12, we remove it by 2003-5 to 2003-7, we are left with only 17 squadrons. Now add on the LCA Mark 1A that are going to come in. Right now, there is not even one Mark 1A that has come in. We have got four engines from GE, and now after we have received these four engines, we got 10 airframes ready. They anticipate that they would be able to make 12 aircraft by March 2026. That is HAL. I have very serious doubts. I doubt if they can have more than 6 aircraft also, but let's give them benefit of doubt of 8. But they can never have even 10 aircraft by March 2026. So we are in tremendous problem as of this moment. And that is why what we need is a gap filler on urgent basis. In fact, when we went in and bought 36 Rafale, we should have bought 126 Rafale at that period of time. And that would have not led us to the situation that it is today. So what we need is urgent getting of aircraft, 114 aircraft, that is medium multi-role combat aircraft. But what I suggest to the government is go for government-to-government deal, get Sukhoi 57, not Rafales as they are thinking, primarily because of not just the cost factor, but also because of being stealthy characteristics, and also because they are willing to do co-production, co-development, transfer of technology, giving us the source code, and we can integrate our own radar, we can integrate our own Astra missile as well as BrahMos missile. Go for a government-to-government deal for Su-57 is my answer.
Very interesting. Well, let's just hope government is watching. But I suppose at this point, the IAF chief is very confident while unveiling a roadmap for 2047 on the way our forces are going to be modernized, and we're looking forward hopeful. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us with this very interesting conversation.